Hiya, good morning, good afternoon and good evening wherever you are in the world, and welcome to the first edition of the Inside Out Effect. My name is Stephen Jakes, your host, and alongside me is my co-host, my good friend, founder of the Decoding Pain, creator of the DTO system and author of the Decoding Pain and Emotional Blueprint to Healing Chronic Pain, Jonathan Shaw. Hello, Jonathan.
Hi, Steve.
Great, how are you?
I'm very well, very good.
Good. So Jonathan and myself have got together and what we've decided to do is a series of podcasts to help bring some light and sort of to educate the listener into the possibility of healing and dealing with their current issues. Most of our life problems are not being solved, and we're taught that the only answer is to manage, cope, maintain and live with them. And that our problems can't be solved and we cannot fix them. But this isn't true, and Jonathan, if you'd like to just elaborate on that a little bit more, on what currently probably people are suffering on a daily basis unnecessarily.
Yeah, it's a massive problem. So many people suffering so many different symptoms these days, from disorders of the mind. I don't really like the word mental disorders, I know that's how they're labelled, but disorders of the mind, depression, anxiety, to physical health conditions, pain, illness, disease, to just normal everyday things like overwhelm and money problems and relationship issues and different things, and they're struggling so much and they don't know how to change them. They're constantly seeking external things to change them, trying to do things, trying to exercise, eat right, meditate, do all these amazing things, but they're very external to us. They're not actually dealing with the root cause of the problem. And then we go to therapists or we go to doctors and we're still dealing with the external root. We're not dealing with the root cause of the problem. And there's really only one root cause of all these problems. And if you just deal with that one root cause, if you can be strong enough and face it and deal with the root cause, then your problems will resolve. Your life will heal. Life will get better, relationships get better, money will improve, health will improve dramatically, the mind and the body will start to heal naturally, and you won't need to spend money on all these amazing things that are out there that people are doing. You'll just live life healthy, happy, and you'll be able to do the things you love and enjoy.
Yeah, I mean, so I can echo that, because obviously I having gone through my own personal journey of quite a lot of pain and trauma and suffering and all the rest of it, and some horrendous stuff that I experienced in my life. One of the main things that I was doing is symptom management. And so what's happening is that, I knew I was feeling depression and I had anxiety and then loads of other stuff that was going on for me. And what was happening is that I was in the impact of the symptoms, and I went down the spiritual route looking for answers. I went down the physical exercise route looking for answers. I went to counsellors and therapists looking for answers. And I pretty much tried everything. I mean, I went and got my NLP practitioners, which was a little bit of a help. But very, very shortly, I fell back into the feelings and the feeling really crap and, not wanting to carry on and wanting to give up. And so obviously, I found myself paralysed in that because I was symptom managing and quite literally wasn't really dealing with the cause of what was actually causing the symptoms. And I see this so much, especially with traditional medicine. It's all symptom management, all of the spiritual stuff and all of the stuff outside of you. And I don't want to take. It's all great to be. I mean, I am a spiritual person. Don't let me. I don't want to. Attack that, but it's a way of being. It didn't resolve my past issues, and so I had to go and find a way of dealing with those past issues. And fortunately enough, I come across yourself, and having worked with you now for the last year or so, my life has drastically changed, mentally, physically, emotionally. So and I think that's why we decided to do these podcasts. Really, is because there's many people out there probably suffering like I was, or worse, or not as much, that this could be resolved from very, very quickly. But unfortunately, the information they've been told or the stuff that they're learning is not benefiting them at all.
No, that's one of the biggest problems. Is there's so much information out there that we don't really know who to listen to anymore, and we don't really know what advice to follow. And a lot of the mainstream advice out there, even though it's some of it's really good stuff. I mean, NLP is really good, and tapping's really good, and yoga's really good, and meditation's really good. These are all really good things, But you have to ask yourself, are they addressing the cause of the problem? And what a lot of people do is they rather than looking at the cause, they might not even know what the cause is. They try and address, as you say, the symptom.
They'll look for a distraction,
They look for which is a distraction from the problem, and they try and address the symptom. And in doing that, you end up making the problem worse over long term, and end up wasting a lot of money and a lot of time doing something that's never going to work for you. We call it the inside out effect because healing starts from the inside.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of people try and heal from the outside in. That doesn't work. That's never going to work. I don't care what you do. And now, don't get me wrong, if there's people out there listening and they've solved their problem with yoga or the NLP or EFT, that's fine. This is not about people who've solved their problem. This is for people who are stuck. So I treat a lot of people who are very, very stuck, and they've tried lots and lots of things and they've got nowhere. And the reason they've got nowhere is because they were either addressing the wrong problems or the wrong root cause, or the tool they were using, the method they were using, was not addressing the problem deep enough. It wasn't going deep enough into the problem to address it fully. And so then you become stuck. I know exactly what it's like. I've been there myself. I've been a therapist for over 20 years now, and I've learned lots of things, and I've tried lots of things, and I got to a point in my life before I found DTO where I was stuck as well, where I tried all these things. I tried EFT, I tried theta healing, I tried advanced clearing energetics, I tried matrix reimprinting, and although they all helped to a certain degree, they didn't help me fully heal the things I need to heal in my life. And so they were all working, and I was using these techniques on others, and they were working, pretty well on other people, but I still had the odd person who was stuck, the odd person who I couldn't get to the root of the problem, or I couldn't access it or clear it for some reason. And when I kind of stumbled upon DTO, I stumbled upon that about 4 or 5 years ago now. It opened up a whole new way of seeing the root cause of problems and accessing the root cause.
Yeah.
Which is the internal state. It is the belief systems and the emotions that we're carrying from the past, but there's a whole new way of accessing and a whole new way of releasing it and basically switching it off. And so when you do that, you no longer need to do the external symptom-based stuff.
I mean, I can echo that again. I've been working with you now, like I said, for quite a while now, and obviously having gone through lots of traumas and pains and stuff that you're aware of that I've been through as a person. What's actually happened is that we've been able to go back to all of those events and switch off all the emotional responses that I had at the time of that event, which is currently playing out in today's reality, so to speak. And then I think this is where a lot of people don't actually really understand the emotional imprint that happens at a time of a trauma or a relationship loss, or when they lose their job or lose a person in the family. It doesn't matter what it is. If at some point there'll be some negative emotional explosion of an event, they are hardwired into you pretty much permanently. And over a period of time, those negative emotions will create beliefs and will stop you doing things in the present moment, because there will be blocks and fears around maybe entering another relationship or taking a job. And so what ends up happening is all those acquired negative responses from past events actually start to accumulate in the present moment and can really paralyze you and stop you living a life going forward. And I've experienced that because by removing all of the stuff of my past, I've been able to grow very, very quickly. I'm no longer in the impact of the anxieties and the depressions and the PTSDs and all the stuff that was going on for me. And so just want to get you to elaborate on that a little bit more, on how those events that we experience in our past really do impact us in the present moment.
Yeah, I mean, when you have trauma from your past, and it's not really trauma, so because it doesn't have to be a traumatic event, it's more something that shocks you. It's more something where you're going through something and all of a sudden you go sort of on the inside and you feel a shock. It doesn't have to be traumatic, so it doesn't have to be a grief or being fired, or it can be something as simple as somebody insulting you. It can be something as simple as watching a TV program and something shocks you on the TV program. It's a shock that triggers people into that state and then causes an imprint of a memory within the cells and within the mind and the body, and that gets stuck in your system somewhere. And depending on the type of shock it is, depending on the type or the information within the shock. So, For example, if it's a territory issue, then it can affect your mind and cause you to feel depressed. If it's a self-worth issue, then it can affect your musculoskeletal system. If it's a separation issue, it can affect your skin. Different things affect different organs, but depending on the type of shock it is and the type of perception of that shock, if that gets lodged in your system, and then you have more than one over a period of time, you have multiple shocks, either with the same perception or multiple perceptions, that's when you end up getting multiple problems like panic attacks, anxieties, depressions, illness, disease. That's where people get multiple illnesses. The autoimmune system breaks down, the lymphatic system stops functioning. This is where the cells in your body start altering, and you become diseased, or you just suffer. You're just sort of going through life day to day because you're unhappy, not necessarily depressed, but you're just waking up, just going through life, thinking functioning through life as much as possible, but just thinking that's all there is to it, and you have to live like that for the rest of your life. Or you end up with bad relationships, or you end up with a job you hate, or you end up just not being able to smile and just be happy. It causes lots of different problems, from the most minor thing to the most severe thing, but it all stems from these moments in time that shock us, these specific moments where we go, and we have that shocking moment, and they get lodged in our system. And by using DTO, we can release that and change how we felt in the moment. Because in that moment we've gone into fight and flight.
Yeah, and that's instant. I mean, because I've literally been able to go back to some of my horrendous experiences that I've had, and as I revisited that, and working with you, and obviously doing it with myself, I've instantly had instant relief. It's just happened instantly. It's not happened like over a period of time. For me personally, it happens instantly. So at the end of dealing with a specific issue or event or trauma or whatever it is, I will instantly feel it gone. It's left my system, which is the power of the DTO system, and I'm a severe advocate of it, and obviously I use it myself with my clients, and it's so powerful because it happens permanently and it happens instantly as well. It's probably one of the best, if not the best, healing techniques for mental stuff that I know out there. I mean, I don't think there's anything that comes close to it. So
that's very nice of you.
Yeah. You've got to be fair, because it is. But that's the truth of it, and you might want to gloss over it, but. I think it's...
Well, you've had some amazing experiences with your clients as well, haven't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
You've had some very quick transformations with it.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of techniques out there that do heal past memories, and the DTO system's not just about healing past memories, because that's not the whole root of it. There is more to it than just healing past memories. There's healing sabotage with it. There's triggers. Triggers are one of the biggest problems for people, because the memory gets triggered constantly in the environment, and you have to switch off the triggers. But just healing memories is a very powerful thing to do, and the DTO system is very quick and very simple to do.
Yeah.
And as you've seen from working on your clients, it's very simple to learn as well.
Yes.
You can learn it very easily, and the process for switching off memories you can learn in about 10 minutes. It's very, very simple.
Yeah.
But you've had some amazing experience with clients who just healed quite dramatically, like the guy you was telling me about a minute ago.
Yeah,
we started. You did one 2.5 hour session with him, and he's like a different person.
Oh, he's completely different. And I see him on Saturday night, and he was just like bouncing around. I mean, when I saw him, he was at the end of the road, and after 2.5 hours, I sent him off, and he sent me a text message the next day, and he goes, I don't know what's happened, but I'm like on fire. And he was just going on about how he's just got all of his power back, and he's just feeling awesome. And I see him on Saturday, which was a couple of weeks after treatment, and he goes, whole life's different. People said you're unrecognisable. And I just thought it was so great, because it made me feel really good, because he's a good friend of mine. I've known him a long time. To see him go back to his old self and some. So it's like who he was plus some as well.
Yeah.
It was really, really great. It really made me feel good.
And you've actually hit the nail on the head. That's basically what DTO does. It just brings you back to being who you were originally. It brings you back to being your true self, and then some, like 2.0.
Yeah, it was.
You go back to the 2.0 version of who you are, or who you really are.
Yeah.
The person you're being right now, or your friend was being, is not the real them. The real you is the person you were born, and no one's ever born horrible or nasty or mean or diseased or unwell. Obviously there are some babies, yes, who are not born well, but the majority of people with the problems that we treat. They're not born ill or diseased or depressed. They're born healthy babies.
Yeah.
And we develop these things as we go through life based on the shock and the shocks that we have in life and the traumas that we go through in life. And then we develop beliefs, and then we develop learnings about the world.
Yeah.
And it's those beliefs and learnings that create the problem. And since I've known you, I mean, you've changed dramatically from where you were to who you are now.
Absolutely, yeah.
You're more confident. And then the byproduct of that is, whatever, as we spoke about earlier on, what everyone tries to do is they try and do the outside in by doing the exercise, doing the meditation. But when you change the inside first, that all follows naturally. So now you have started exercising. You go to swimming.
I do so much more.
You
Yeah,
become fitter and healthier.
Yeah.
You start attracting clients. You start attracting money. You start attracting
Yeah.
positive people in your life. And whereas before you were trying to exercise and do those things, but it was a struggle.
The thing, I was trying to make it. I was trying to force it or make it happen.
Yeah.
Trying to impact the outside world. And when I sat down and spoke to you, and we had a discussion and realised, well, actually, what you need to do is just change you. Just change you. And when I first thought that, I thought, well, okay, I'm going to change me, but I don't understand how just changing me is going to have how the outside world is going to change. But oh, how I was wrong. So
no, everyone says that.
Yeah,
It's not you're wrong. One of my past clients. I said
it was so wrong.
I said this to her. She one of my past clients I treated a couple of years ago. She had a situation, and I said, you have to just trust me, and this will happen. And she said to me, well, I'll believe it when I see it. And I said, no, you have to believe it so you can see it.
Yeah.
You have to believe it first, but you can't just believe it logically. You can't just sit there and go, right, I believe it.
Yeah.
You can't convince yourself to believe it. You can't make yourself believe it, because like what you said, then you're just trying to influence the outside world.
Yeah.
And that doesn't work. You have to change the internal belief system that you're having and the learnings that you've got from the past, and then life will change around you. Yeah. Almost like magic.
I think one thing for me is I had a set of beliefs about what I'd learned from growing up, from school, parents, the people I used to hang around with, and you formulate a personality which you've learned. And actually, in most cases, what I know now is most of that doesn't work. And what was happening for me was I kept recreating the same failings and pain and suffering over and over again. So I had a terrible breakup with my first relationship. I then recreated exactly the same situation 7 years later with another person, and it finished in exactly the same way. It was like a mirror image. They finished on exactly 7 years to the day. The outcome was exactly the same. The things that were being said is exactly the same, which I thought was a bit strange. And so, but it wasn't until I went and visited who I really was and what I'd learned, and said, right, this is me. I don't work anymore. This isn't working for me, because the problem was what I'd learned, and I'd learned from everywhere and everything. So I wanted to be successful, and I learned all this stuff, but actually none of it. It's sort of all upside down. It's all back to front. The stuff that you learn, the stuff that you taught, all the symptom management and the reactions and not creation, all this stuff, and it's all programmed into you. But then I got to a point where my life had completely and utterly failed. It had completely fallen over on its head. I'd lost my house, lost my car, lost my children. I lost my missus. They'd gone to another country. I'd been a stupid amount of money stolen from me and my business, and it was just relentless. But I had to look at why this was happening. And when I actually went and started to realise that I was creating it. So the common denominator in all my shit was me.
Yes.
And so once I went back and realised that and started doing the work to change that, then I would say that everything just started to change for me. But it was something, I went on a bit of a spiritual journey for a couple of years, and I went down the yoga route, and all the time I was feeling good in the present moment, I was still struggling with all the stuff from the past. So it's okay going down the spiritual lifestyle, but you still got to clear all your past traumas and stuff up. Yes. And that yoga and all the other stuff wasn't actually dealing with it. It was just putting a plaster over what was really going on for me. And using the DTO system instantly started changing my belief systems. I was able to go back to those beliefs and those learnings, working with you and being able to identify which ones were working for me and which ones that don't work for me. And by doing that, I instantly found myself shifting. It was instant, and then all of a sudden, the things that I wanted to happen in my life, and so I was trying to make happen, started happening naturally.
Yeah.
Just naturally like that. So I mean, you might want to take over from there, but
Exactly. When you heal from the inside, the external world clears up naturally by itself. You don't have to try. You don't have to. It's not a struggle. It just happens naturally, and you also take action naturally. You just do what you feel right in the moment, and it kind of works out for you. And I've always known it. I've always believed that and understood that. In fact, one of the first learnings I ever had when I was younger was, whenever you have a problem, you're the one who's always there. I don't remember who said that to me or where I was taught it, but that really resonated with me.
Was you there when he said it?
I was definitely there when he said it. I remember checking my watch and going, no, I'm actually here. And yeah, so that resonated with me. It was just always a problem. Well, how can I get that to work? How can I get that to work permanently all the time? And also for my clients as well. But when I do this with clients, when you heal the inside, when you heal the beliefs, the learnings, then whatever you want to happen in the external world will happen in the external world for you. Obviously, with the exception of superpowers, perhaps. Don't get carried away, folks. It's just...
So if the Flash is listening, unfortunately, we can't help you, mate.
No, but, obviously, but with normal everyday things, just happiness, joy, peace, money, relationships, health, well-being, it all starts inside. That is the root cause of everything. Literally everything. I've helped people do so many things, even things you perhaps wouldn't think you could use it for. I've used it for flus and viruses. I've helped a lady solve their chicken pox within 48 hours. I've helped lots of illness, disease, chronic pain. That's my speciality, chronic pain, anxieties, depressions, but also money things, relationships. And
well, I mean, you did with me at the beginning of the new year. I had a bit of a shock new year, and I ended up getting a really bad chest infection and a very, very sore throat. And it happened instant. I know I can even recall when it happened through the conversation I had. As soon as I put the phone down, my throat started hurting, my chest hurt. It was an instant thing.
Yeah.
So I knew that I had a biological response to a stress.
Yes.
And I was in quite a bad way. And I think within about 50 minutes, you'd got rid of my chest infection and my sore throat. And it just took me a few days then afterwards to clear the the gunk that was on my chest.
That's
but
right.
that was shocking for me, because I'd done the DTO with who I was, and but for actual, that was the first time I'd experienced a health thing. And it blew my mind. And I tried to tell people this, and they just look at me as if I'm mad. And
what people do, the problem is people believe all these things, and the reason I wanted to do this podcast with you is to share this information, because I'm not trying to impress you by telling you what I've helped people achieve. I'm showing you this because a lot of people, they're trying to solve their problems traditionally, and if we're really honest with ourselves, I think if anyone really is actually honest with themselves, if what you're doing is not solving the problem, then it's not working for you. I'm about solving a problem, not about maintaining it or controlling the problem. I'm not about living with it
or coping,
managing the problem. I'm about getting rid of the problem so you can get your health back and you go back to feeling strong, confident, happy, and enjoying your life again. And if you want to do that, then you've got to address the root cause of the problem. Yeah. And there's so many people out there, the advice they give is not addressing the root cause of the problem. And they don't really know what the root cause of the problem is, because they're not going internal. And even some of the things out there that do go internal, they don't go deep enough. Yeah. They don't know how to go to the real deep stuff within us and find the root of what's causing it inside ourselves. And it's not a blame thing. We're not going to blame ourselves for this. It's just something we're running that's happened to us in the past, and we've created an energy about it, a belief, and it's now causing a problem in our life today and in our environment around us. And if you just deal with the internal problem, the external problem will go away. Your health will clear up. The life will clear up. So I wanted to do this to get more people to realise that if you just deal with the internal problem, you will solve whatever it is, whether it's a cold or a flu or a more serious disease. And a lot of people...
you've had some drastic healings just through... haven't you? You've had some amazing stories from people.
I've helped lots of people heal lots of different things, and all I do is address the internal problem they're going through, whether it's a shock, whether it's self-sabotage, whether it's belief systems or learnings, or whether it's a deeper issue than that, where they need to forgive someone in their life, and they need to actually deeply forgive the person that hurt them or upset them, or they need to forgive themselves, and those different, or they're being triggered by something in the environment. There's something in the around that keeps triggering them. But whatever it is, if you just heal the internal response, then the problem goes away. You feel happy, you feel more relaxed, you feel more peaceful, and your life starts to heal. And that is the best way to solve any problem. You've got to deal with the cause.
Yeah.
Everything else is just an effect. Everything else is just a symptom around you. It all starts inside of you. And there's a lot of people who do teach this and they kind of explain it, but it goes a lot deeper than what they explain. And it's like, how do you do it? What do you use to do it fully and completely so it kind of happens naturally? Once you find that, and once you find the root of what's going on inside, then the world's your oyster.
Yeah, I think
you can heal anything through magic.
Yeah,
it's
you
like
can.
Magic.
It is like magic. It is like, and I think there's a big misconception about cause, because what actually goes on is they'll say, "Oh, well, the cause is you done that to me. You did this to me." So it'll be something outside of them that they believe has been done to them, which is the cause.
Yes.
But that's not. No. Actually, the cause is the response that you actually have at the time of that shock, per se.
Exactly.
Whether it be a biological shock or a emotional response or a belief that you formulate at that opinion when that thing, that external shock happens. So the issue is that I have with a lot of people that I work with is they generally believe that stuff happens to them.
Yes.
And it does happen to them. But ultimately what's really going on is how they react or respond at the time of that insult, attack, someone leaving them, bailiff knocking on the door, husband, find out what affair, whatever it is. I mean, it doesn't. But it's actually how you react and respond to it in that moment, which is actually really the cause, because everything really only means stuff about us. And I think when we had a conversation a little while ago, you said that to me, which is quite powerful, is that it's only everything's about us, or what it means to us, or about us, and that's how we can get to the cause, because that's fundamentally the thing that we need to address, what it meant to us and about us at the time of that shock. So I don't know if you want to.
You're absolutely right. A lot of people they do believe that it's what's happened to them that's the problem, but as you so rightly said, it's about how we respond to that. It's our reaction to that that's the problem. And what's happened is at some point in our life, normally in our childhood somewhere, we've had a minor thing like that happen and we've reacted negatively. And the situation that's happening now is just playing that out in your life now. You're having the same reaction, but in a more severe way, perhaps than when you was a child. And you're just drawing the same situation to you because that's how you're responding to the situation. It's your response that keeps drawing the negativity to you, not the negative stuff happening to you. Life is not happening to you in that way. You are creating it, but you're not doing it on purpose. You're not walking around going, "I really hope shit happens to me today." That's not what you're doing. It's your unconscious mind that's doing it. Your unconscious is playing a program. It's a bit like, you're walking down the street and in the front of your mind you're playing playing a positive thing, but in the back of your mind you're playing a horror movie. And you don't know it's there, but it's playing in your mind and it's creating all these different problems to you. The thing that I've never been able to grasp is once I understood that really freed me. That really freed me. I went, you know what? I now have power back in my life. I now have control back in my life, because all I've got to do is change the unconscious program.
Correct.
And that to me was empowering. But what amazes me, some people don't like it. Some people, they can't handle the concept. They don't want to be empowered. They want to blame and stay a victim to what's happening around them.
Well, it serves them, and I found it serves them. It serves them because they get benefit from it. They don't have to go to work. They can have whatever benefit it is. They might even have people running around after them, looking after them, supporting them, giving them the attention that they need. So in some cases, it actually having the thing that they say they don't want actually serves them so well, which they don't really want to get rid of it. And
they do. But at the same time, they kind of got two programs running, because nobody really consciously would want to suffer like that or be unhappy. I don't really believe that. But there is a program running in the unconscious mind that makes them stay in that stuck state. And usually that comes down to sabotage. So if you're really dealing with cause, if you want to stay stuck and you want to blame others, then you are sabotaging yourself. And usually that comes down to a guilt or a shame. You feel guilty or ashamed about something. And we all have sabotage running. We all do it at different levels from time to time until you start clearing it. And until you start releasing it, then you stop sabotaging. And the sabotage becomes less and less. But ultimately, when you want to stay stuck, there is some kind of guilt and shame you're holding on to that's causing you to sabotage your world and stay stuck in that way. I've never really liked this theory that I was always taught as a therapist that some people just don't want to heal.
Yeah.
And it's a very common theory, and I've never liked it. And when I learned DTO, I started learning and seeing what was actually happening. And the real cause from a DTO perspective, a lot of therapists I was taught, when you deal with it, you look at the belief systems that's happening in the external world. So if someone has, is frightened to go out in the world, is it agoraphobia?
Yeah.
They're frightened to go outside. You look at the fear about going outside. But actually, what's really going on is it's a belief about yourself is the problem. And the belief about you and who you are. It's always about, we're taking it personally. So it's what it means to us and about us is the problem.
Yes.
And that's what DTO addresses. It addresses the belief about yourself that makes you think it's dangerous to go outside. The belief that it's dangerous to go outside is irrelevant. So by trying to switch that off, sometimes it will work, but sometimes it won't work. And when it doesn't work, the reason is because there's a belief about yourself in there. And it's that you have to switch off. It's that you have to find. You have to find what it means to you and about you. And when you do, that's when life will start to change. That's when life will heal. Because that, for me, was a missing ingredient in belief work with other techniques, in finding the beliefs. Every test system I ever learned looked at the beliefs about external things. Beliefs about what happened, the person who'd done it, about God, about the government, or about money, or about relations. No, actually, it's the belief about yourself. It's a belief about yourself and what it means to you and about you. And if you change that and find that, then life will heal very quickly, very magically, and you'll stop blaming, and you'll get the life you want. Think about the life that you actually want, deep down on the inside. You can have that. You can have that life. You just need to change what it means to you and about you. And once you do, once you realise that whatever it means to you and about you is false, it's a program, it's not real, it's an illusion that was created when you were younger. Once you realise that and you accept that, you can switch it off, and then life will change.
And that goes back to several things that I've been aware of, especially when it comes to anger problems or drink problems or drug problem, or whatever the problem it is per se. That's not the problem. So we have all this, and I do go on Facebook from time to time, and I'll see things like that about you have these anxiety groups. And they're basically telling you, we will give you the tools to help manage and cope with it.
Yeah.
And realistically, that's not a very beneficial thing to do, because you're unconsciously accepting that you're going to have it forever, and you've always got it, and you've got to live with it.
Yes.
And you've got to live with your drug problems, and you've got to live with your drink problem, or you've got to live with this, or you've got to live with your anger. You've got to manage anger. No, you don't have to do any of that. What you actually need to do is go and find out what the cause is that makes you angry, or what causes the drink, or what causes you to do X, Y, and Z. And once you get to the cause and find out what it means to you and about you and switch that off, then all of your behaviours change, because the belief changes. There's a belief that drives the behaviour. So when you change the belief, the behaviour changes, and then all of a sudden that thing that's been such a trouble for you for 1 month, 2 months, 6 months, a year, instantly just will go away, and then it's magic. It will just magically disappear. But you need to go and find out what's causing that behaviour, or what's causing the effect.
Well, I think one of the big problems with those systems that tell you to manage and cope with it is because they believe you can't change how you feel. So the problem with traditional therapy is that they believe you can't change the thoughts and the feelings that you're having inside. So if you're angry, you have to cope and maintain it somehow, or kind of suppress it. But that's not real. That's not true. There are lots of techniques that I learned in the past. I mentioned them, EFT and theta healing. All these techniques do change how you feel. And DTO is another way of doing that. Whereas the other techniques are more energy-based, DTO is not an energy technique. It's a way to literally switch off how you're feeling. But traditional medicine and traditional things, counselling and psychotherapy, they don't believe you can change how you feel. So they're always trying to maintain...
We're going to disagree with you there.
I'm going to disagree because I've done it with people.
I've done it,
and I've done it with myself.
Yeah, and me.
And I've done it and everyone who comes to me is very, very sceptical. And they're very, very... They don't believe it's possible. And there's nothing that me or Steve can say on this audio, this podcast, that will actually convince you it's possible, because the human mind can't comprehend it, because we've been told for centuries that you can't change how you feel. It's not just 10 years or 20 years. It goes back hundreds of years that you cannot change how you feel, but it's not true. There are lots of systems out there, and when I discovered the DTO system, I mean, I didn't believe the DTO system straight away. I mean, when I was younger, when I first got into therapy, I basically had a nervous breakdown when I was 21.
Yeah.
And that's the first time I'd been working really hard. I was a magician, and I knew nothing about therapy, knew nothing about healing, and I had a nervous breakdown, and I was a zombie. I was getting up, doing shows, coming home, going to bed, eating dinner and sleeping, and doing that cycle every day, just feeling depressed and down. And
because I can resonate with that. I did that for 2 years.
I couldn't cope with life. And luckily for me, at that time, I only had it for about 6 months. But that's kind of what kick-started me into this whole healing world.
Yeah.
And I learned a lot of different techniques to that you could heal your emotions. But at that time, I was very skeptical. I remember the first time ever trying EFT, and I was gobsmacked by the result I got. I was literally blown away. And I'm a very skeptical person by nature, and I only do things that I know work, that I've tested lots. And when I came up with DTO, I remember sitting down one morning after I'd done this training program with our friend Greg.
Yeah.
And I had this idea pop in my head. It's just popped straight in my head. And I thought, and I used it on a belief that I'd been carrying for ages about a relationship from the past, actually my first love.
Yeah.
I still had a belief in my system about my first love that one day she'd come back.
I still have that. That's a dream, though, isn't it?
well, for me, it was a belief. For me, it was actually a belief system that was holding me back. And I tried lots of things to heal this past relationship, this first love that I'd ever had. I tried everything, and nothing had completely done it. And I sat down after this training with our friend, and I had this idea pop in my mind, and I just did this little process in my head, this DTO, what I now call a DTO process in my head. And within about 30 seconds, the belief had gone. In fact, it wasn't even that. I think it was more like 10 seconds, and the belief had gone. And I sat there in complete amazement and went, no, that's not possible. Because I've been taught that's not possible. Because even though all the other techniques are very, very good, they're certainly not that quick. And I was gobsmacked. I was like, that can't be gone. I spent years trying to solve that. That's not possible. And so I tried a couple of other beliefs about the same scenario, about the ex. And within about 5 or 10 minutes, all of the remaining beliefs I had about that relationship had healed.
Yeah, I know.
They'd gone. And I've been trying to solve that for years. I was like, fuck. I was like, damn it, that's what a long way around to get to that. All I had to do was this little process. Yeah. And so I did something I don't normally do. Normally, with processes, I test them on myself first, then I test them on friends, then I test them on clients.
Yeah.
But I got so excited by this concept that I had a couple of clients that day who I knew were open people to trying things. And a couple of them were struggling a little bit with the techniques I was using. And so I did it on them, and I got the same result: instantaneous relief from the problem, almost within seconds and minutes. It was like magic. And I used to be a magician, so I know what magic. It
is like magic. And I've said to you, when I first experienced my first session with DTO with you, and obviously I'd worked after a little while. I worked out once I knew how to do it with myself. I was like a kid in a sweet shop. Yeah. I basically locked myself in my bedroom for like about 3 days and just basically went through every single traumatic experience I had thought I'd experienced. Everything that come to my head, right, just switching it all off. Switched that off. And I had to slow down because I think my brain started to frazzle a little bit because I had so much change go on. It took a while to recalibrate.
I remember how excited you got. You were very, very excited. You were just changing things left, right and centre.
No, I was,
to the point where I had to slow you doan a little bit and go, whoa. Just calm down.
I've got so much stuff of my past. I mean, and which is also a benefit for me. I've had so much stuff happen to me in my life, which I've created as well. I mean, I would say I've created all of it, but I've had so much happen to me from abuses and all the way through that, when you've been living in that pain and that suffering for so long, and you see a key to the door to get out, then you're going to run for that door as quick as you can. And I did, but I thought that I could just switch it off all very, very quickly and go away, not realising that there's a process involved.
There is a process involved.
But the beautiful thing about it is like so there's a process involved. But my experience has enabled me to literally have anybody come to me and I can sort of empathise or understand their issue because I've pretty much I've experienced most things, so I'm fortunate like that. So,
you've experienced a lot of things, and so your experience will help
Helps.
understand a lot of people where they're coming from. I've experienced a few things: chronic pain, depression. I've not actually experienced anxiety. I had a paranoia once for about 3 months, but that was. But I switched it off once I understood what was going on. But the main two things I experienced is pain and anxiety, pain and depression. Sorry, and obviously relationship issues and bits and pieces and things like that. But once you know that all you need to do is change what you're thinking and feeling, and then you have a technique to do that. Well, then you're halfway there. Then all you got to do is work through the stuff.
Yeah.
And it's the message I want to really hone in today on is that you can change your health, your well-being, but it starts with the inside. So many people come to me and they've tried so many things, and those things, the external things, will only work once you start changing the internal world. Then everything you're doing externally will work for you, and it will work brilliantly well.
A great example of that is every new year, I would imagine gyms are rubbing their hands together because it's the new year and people are feeling shit and crappy from Christmas or related. They go, right, I need to change. This year's going to be my year. And what they'll do is they'll run down the gym and they'll sign up because they think that by going to the gym is going to be able to change how they feel, right? They're not going to the gym to get fit. They're going down to change the feel. And what happens is they'll go in with this real willpower and desire to do it, and they'll go for the first couple of weeks, and it will sort of give them an emotional temporary fix of them thinking or feeling that it's actually achieving something. But once that willpower or that desire starts to drop, the old feeling starts to kick back in and starts pulling them back to where they were before they designed the gym. Before they joined.
Exhausting as well, designing a gym. So that's where they're going wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we'll end it there. No, but so what happens is then they get pulled back and then they stop going to the gym. They go, oh, I've tried the gym, it didn't work. And that's the misconception of the thinking the outside thing's going to solve the problem. But if you just solved your internal thing first, then gone to the gym's now going to start working for you. And I can tell you, I can do that from my own personal experience. So
yeah, because when you solve the internal problem, you naturally want to do all the things that are good for you, and that may be working out, but for some people it might not be working out. A misperception is that working out is the answer, and unfortunately sometimes it's not what people want to do. I'm not saying working out's not good for you, don't get me wrong.
No, we're not.
I'm just saying that it starts with the internal response.
What we're saying, it's not the solution.
It's not the solution. The solution is internal. Once you change the internal feeling, you know what you want to do naturally on the outside. For you, it was to go swimming.
Yeah, I mean, I was 3 months. I was going, I'm going to go, and then all of a sudden we went to a belief that I had. I switched it off. I was down there within an hour signing up. And I haven't stopped swimming since. But it was that belief in the past that was actually stopping me from doing it.
Yes, the belief stops you from doing things that are good for you, that your body craves or wants. And you can fight it. You can try willpower. But as Steve said, what normally happens is you try it for a few weeks or a few months, and then you feel completely overwhelmed with it, or you get tired and you give up. And you kind of you sort of collapse and fall apart.
Yeah, and then
you try and build yourself again, and then it goes backwards again. You build yourself again.
But at the same time, you're adding to your pain because you start thinking, "Oh, well, I'm not good enough. There's something wrong with me," and all the rest of this stuff. I can't. And then you start adding to your problem.
Now you're adding to more of the internal problem because you think you're a failure, you're useless, and you go round in circles. Whereas if you just change the internal response first, then you will naturally do the things that are right and healthy for you. For me, I like going to sauna and steam room. That's what I like to do. That's naturally good for my health. I like to stretch and be flexible, but I'm not necessarily a weightlifting person. I'm not necessarily a cardio or gym person in that way. So I do what my body likes to do, and then you'll be healthy and fit. But then you'll know, because there's a lot of information that tells us what we should and shouldn't be doing, but no one ever finds out what actually we want to do. And the only way we can really find out what works for us and what we want to do is to change our internal state, to change our internal feelings. Once we do that, we know what is right for us. The beauty of the DTO system, it does not tell you what you should and shouldn't do. It does not tell you what's right and what's wrong. It finds out the internal beliefs and thoughts that are not working for you, switches them off, and switches on something that does work for you, and then you naturally know what you're going to enjoy and what works for you, rather than being told you should do this, you should do that.
You need to manage your anger, or you need to cope and manage your anxiety, or
you need to go to the gym, and you need to eat right, and you need to eat this food, and you need to, because unfortunately over the years
it's all consumerism, it's marketing.
It's all a way to just get you to do more things and get you away from the internal problem.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, in a lot of cases these days, it doesn't solve the problem. Don't get me wrong, if you've done something and it's worked, that's great. I'm not looking at the things that have worked. I'm saying, when you've tried things and it hasn't worked, what do you now do? Like me and Steve, we tried so many things. And a lot of my clients, they've tried so many things, they haven't worked, and they kind of get to me as a last resort.
Which is, it should be the other way around.
It should be the other way around.
Because you're coming to see us first, really.
Yeah, because you're going to save a lot of time and money doing the wrong things.
Yeah.
But then I have to re-educate people, and we have to explain to people what's really going on.
Yeah.
But if you understand this, if you get it now, you can save yourself time and money by doing the internal work.
Yeah.
And once you do the internal work,
it happens instantly, like magic. It
happens very, very quickly.
It does, yeah. So you know, the key for this, really, I think, for this particular podcast is, you know, this is all about cause and effect. And what we're saying is that if you go and find the cause of your problem will go away. And the effect, i.e., or the symptom, if you're going to keep managing your symptoms, you are just going to have that forever and ever and ever, because you're never ever going to go to the cause. You're never ever going to be able to solve the problem that's causing the symptom. And we are I believe that we're in a world of symptoms. Everyone wants to talk about. Everyone's moaning. Everyone's complaining. Everyone's either got this going on, that going on. They've, you know, whatever they're suffering from anxiety or depression or whatever it is, they're over it. Whatever it is, it's all. There's always some reason. There's always some symptom that's going on, and there's so much out there now to literally get you to buy into a solution. Well, really, what you want to be doing is just dealing with the cause, and I think the cause and effect is a great way to start this podcast. I think obviously Jonathan has shared some great information there, and so we'll probably finish up for today. So thank you for listening. We're going to be doing, we're going to be doing some more of these on different things. I think we're going to be doing one about fight and flight, because I think you want to talk about that.
Yeah, we're going to cover very specific things. We're going to cover exactly what stress is and how the shocks affect us and why they affect us. We're going to cover specific conditions, and if you guys have a condition, you want to understand it from what the stress is that's causing it, then just email one of us.
Yeah.
And what was our email address?
Yeah, so you can email us at it's just insideouteffect@gmail.com, which is what we've just set up. Or you can go to, if you're looking for a specific treatment with regards to emotional healing or anything like which we've been discussing, depression, anxiety, you can go to my website, which is healingthemind.co.uk, or you can go to Jonathan's website, which is decodingpain.com.
Right.
And you can contact us there. And so, is there anything else you want to add, really, before we finish off for the day?
No, I think that's it. Just stay tuned, because we're going to cover lots of different problems and go more into specifics about each problem, so you guys can really understand it, because we can't reach through the podcast and heal it for you. Yeah. That's impossible. We can't do that. You need to work one-to-one with someone. But we can re-educate you to understand what's really going on, why it's actually happening. So once you understand, you now know the right thing to do, and you have the right understanding, so you can find the right person to help, whether that's me, Steve, or someone else.
Yes.
We just want you to get better. We want you to understand what's really going on, so you can solve the problem yourself, or you can find a way to solve the actual root cause of the problem. That's what's really important about this, and we've shared a lot of stories of what we've done, but it's really about letting you know the root cause, so you can find a way to solve it. But you need to understand the root cause first.
Yes.
And we're going to go into the root cause of specific problems. Today was just kind of an overview of what root cause is.
Yeah, it was our pilot. I think it went quite well. I quite enjoyed doing it.
I enjoyed doing it. It was great.
Fun. And so, so we're going to be looking forward. We're going to be doing some more. So I think for now, thank you for all the listeners. Thank you for joining us. I hope you've taken some benefit from what we've shared. And we will see you and speak to you on the next episode of The Inside Out Effect. Ta-da.
See you later.